All right, good afternoon. We're here today to have a conversation around growing future teachers, particularly through the alternative certification route, and then also how a residency may benefit them. So let's start with introductions. Would you like to go first?
Yes, howdy. I'm Dr. Val Hill-Jackson. I am the Principal Investigator, Grant Writer, and Director of the Teacher Education Residency Model, or TERM. So I'm really excited about our conversation today, Cassidy, because in the state of Texas and all across the nation, we have a teacher shortage. So let's talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm Cassidy Caldwell. I'm the program manager with TERM, the Teacher Education Residency Model. I work with Dr. Hill-Jackson and many of our district partners. We have district partners in the Houston area. We work with Spring and Aldine, over in Royal. We also are in the Brazos Valley working with Bryan and Hearn and Caldwell ISD as well. We've had some wonderful partners. We're also partnered with two institutions, Texas A&M University and Prairie View A&M University, that have really helped and supported this work and really been great thought partners in this work, developing this pipeline for teachers that can support our district partners. So today, let's start with how do we get certified and really focus in on those that already have a degree, maybe they're career changers, already working in the district, or just are interested in getting into education to start out with. So in the state of Texas, there's really three things that you need to get your teacher certification. The first one is you need coursework. You need some sort of formal training, right? Some courses at a university or through programs that offer the necessary coursework to learn educational theory and child development and understanding how to be a teacher and some effective practices for being in the classroom.
I know a lot of people think that folks just walk in the room and magically know how to teach, but that's not the case. There's actual coursework that goes along with it.
Absolutely. The second thing are your certification exams. So once you've had enough coursework, it is now time to demonstrate that you have a clear understanding of that content knowledge and how to be a teacher. So that's the second bucket.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to the certification exam, I don't want folks out there to get freaked out because we're both certified teachers, right? Tell everybody what your certification is in.
Yeah, my certification is in math and science for middle grades, 4th through 8th grade. I received my certification from Texas A&M University, and so I did that as an undergraduate, which we'll talk about maybe that pathway to certification.
For me, I was a K through 8 certified teacher. I'm also certified in supervision and curriculum development, and I'm a certified principal as well. I got my certification back in the late 90s as a baby teacher. So we don't want folks to get freaked out, but there is a certification exam. So that's the second bucket.
Yes, and there's plenty of resources out there that help candidates prepare for the exams, and lots of great resources at the universities, different programs and companies, even some great tutors out there that are doing the work to help prepare people for those exams. It's just getting connected in the right ways and utilizing those resources. And then the third component to getting certified, and this is one really important component, is the clinical experience.
Right.
That can look like, people might be familiar with clinical teaching. That's usually if you are going through an undergraduate program and you've hit that clinical experience phase, you might go through clinical teaching. You have your 70 days, your 70 clock hours, like I like to say, where in the clinical experience, you are demonstrating that you have all of the skills to be a teacher and that you can run a classroom and be an effective instructor, have classroom management skills, everything through that clinical experience.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's kind of like an apprenticeship model, whether you are training to be a welder or even a physician, there's an opportunity for you to go into a particular space. And in this instance, we're talking about the classroom space and have an opportunity to practice. So we have the first bucket, right?
Coursework.
Which is the coursework. And we have our second bucket, which is the teacher exam. And in that third bucket is that clinical space for sure.
Yes. And so if you're trying to become a teacher, You do need a bachelor's degree. So you can become a teacher while working on your bachelor's degree. You can enroll in an educator preparation program at a university, get your bachelor's degree and your certification at the same time. You may also be somebody that is working on in a specific field like history or chemistry,
Hmm.
and you may be majoring in that. And towards your sophomore or junior year, maybe you want to pick up an education minor because maybe you've thought about wanting to become a teacher. That can still happen while you're an undergraduate through some different programs.
Sure.
But the other route is through the alternative certification route, and that is for individuals that already have a bachelor's degree and are coming back for certification. That could happen at a university, or there are private programs that also offer those three buckets: the
Exactly.
coursework, the certification prep, and the clinical experience. And so let's dive into the alternative certification route, because these might be people that have just graduated
Hmm.
with their degree and want to
Hmm.
get certified, or maybe they have been working in another profession and want to a change of pace and change careers over to education. These individuals have all kinds of experience and are coming to education through different ways. And I like to say that these are everybody's a case by case basis because
Yes.
everybody has a different story,
And they're
right?
my favorite group, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, because we know that teaching is the most important profession on the planet. And we also know that there's a certain level of maturity,
Exactly
right,
right.
that is needed when one goes into the classroom. So I'm always interested to find those folks who are what we call those career changers, who've done something different and now they want to give back, because a part of the great work of being a teacher is paying it forward for the next generation. So we're looking for those kind of people for sure.
Absolutely. We're also interested in supporting those that have found their way to
Yeah.
education, maybe as a paraprofessional or a substitute, or even supporting a school district by being a bus driver or working in the cafeteria. But they have a degree and maybe you're interested in getting certified. And so, this alternative certification route is something that they're able to do to get their teacher certification.
And I think we've heard from a lot of people, Cassidy, who are maybe in that place of having worked for the school district. Maybe they have their degree, maybe they have worked maybe as a paraprofessional, and they've kind of lost track in terms of finding their way.
Mhm.
The program we're going to talk about today will help get them on that track to getting certified
Mhm.
and being able to fully serve the district in a different way. Hmm.
Yeah. So let's hone in on the clinical experience
Okay.
part of the alternative certification route,
Hmm.
because these candidates, they already have a bachelor's degree.
Right.
So they have a lot of content knowledge in their particular areas.
Right.
Let's use a history candidate as an example. They have a degree in history, they have a high level of content knowledge in history. Now they're coming through the alternative certification route. They're taking the necessary coursework or engaging in the appropriate materials to learn about education and
Now you're
how to be a
saying the
teacher.
appropriate coursework, and I cut you off there. But what do you mean? If I already have my degree,
Mhm.
what additional coursework are you talking about?
I'm talking about courses related to educational theory, child development, classroom management strategies, really unpacking the field of education and how to be a teacher,
Mhm.
and developing the knowledge and skills around the profession of teaching.
And I'm glad you clarified that because, we have so many folks who come to us as experts in their
Mhm.
discipline, but being a teacher really means understanding the art and science of being a teacher. So, what one might get is what we call those pedagogy courses.
Yes.
So, you learn not just your content and be really good at it, but you learn how to be a really good teacher as well.
Yes, it's taking all of that knowledge that you have, maybe in history,
Hmm.
and learning how to present it in a digestible manner that these learners can understand and really absorb all of that great knowledge that you have, right?
Absolutely.
So, in the alternative certification route, you have that coursework that you complete, you complete and pass your exams. And then you're ready for your clinical experience. Now, the traditional route with alternative certification is that by the time you have passed your certification exams, you can get what is called a statement of eligibility and a probationary certificate by the state to teach for 1 year to move into your clinical experience. So you can find a teaching position through your district of choice, apply for that position, and this would be a part of your application
Right,
packet. But what
right.
you'll explain to the principal is, I am enrolled in this program, I've made it this far in my program, and now I'm ready for my internship year. And you have a probationary certificate. Now, this type of clinical experience, I want to dive into this. An internship, you are in a classroom all of your own. You start on the first day of school. You actually start before school, engaging in the new teacher induction, professional development with the district. And then you start that first day of school welcoming all of those kiddos to your classroom. You may have 30, you may have 120, depending on your course load, right?
And you're on your own.
And you're on your own. You have every responsibility during that year teaching these students, preparing, and if there's state tests that are going on, preparing them for their state testing. You're dealing with your classroom management and any kind of any students that walk through your doors. During this time, you are also getting observed, and that's where the formal piece of the clinical experience comes in, where you are practicing and you're learning throughout this year, but you have your observations that are happening. And so at the end of that academic year, the program that you're enrolled in tells the state this person has completed all of these requirements and they are ready to be certified. And so we as the program recommend them for certification. You obtain that and you're done.
Yeah, and I love how you sort of noted the fact that there is this communication going on with the state, and by that, I believe you mean the Texas Education Agency, which certifies every teacher in the state of Texas.
Yes, absolutely. This alternative certification route, it can be a bit challenging at times. It can happen pretty quickly, which for some of those that are ready to enter into education and maybe already have certain experiences in educational settings, that is something that is doable for them and they're comfortable doing and they can succeed that way. But what are some challenges that you have seen with those that are entering onto their internship year and have that whole experience?
The traditional pathway does not prepare you for all of the rigors of the classroom, right? We all have this fantasy about what it's going to be like, that first day, that first week in our classroom. We are welcoming our babies into the classroom, and we pick out just the right jacket and we find just the right marker for the whiteboard. But guess what? The reality soon sink in, and you realize that there are a lot of things about the art of teaching and learning that maybe you haven't had enough time to kind of work and figure out. Well, the research is saying that we lose a lot of our teachers who go this pathway. According to the research, by year 3, 30% of our teachers are gone, Cassidy. And then by year 5, 50% are gone.
Wow.
Because we have a current approach that's sort of sink or swim. You either get in there and you learn how to figure it out on your own, or you say to yourself, this isn't for me. And that's problematic in a couple of ways. Number one, our students are deserving of so much more. They need a teacher that's going to be there year after year, show up and be committed to the district. But also it adds to the burden in our state, the great state of Texas. We have an attrition rate of 10%. And when we look at those urban and rural environments, the attrition rate is as high as 40%. So we have to do better. And at the end of the day, this is an economic issue because our students have to get a good education and pour back into the economy as well. So all kinds of implications why we have to figure out a better way to do this work.
Yes. Now, the other type of clinical experience you could have through an alternative teacher certification route, it's not as popular, but it's the clinical teaching. And I had mentioned that when we were talking about the undergraduate pathway just really quickly there, but the clinical teaching is an option that candidates can see sometimes in these programs, and that's where you have one semester, you're with a mentor teacher, but it's only for 70 days. A challenge with that is that it's also unpaid, usually. And so what we see with the alternative certification route is that's not quite as popular because we're working with those that are career changers and they have families. And trying to consider something where now 70 days you're not paid is unrealistic at times.
Absolutely. We all have to eat, don't we, Cassidy?
hmm But wouldn't it be great if there was a nice combination between the two, where you had support, you had a mentor,
Mhm.
you had people from the district guiding you through this process, you had people in your programs guiding you through
Right.
this process,
Mhm.
but it was a year-long experience where you're able to really practice, experiment a little bit with what you're learning
Mhm.
and what you want to be as a teacher.
Right, right.
So let's get into residencies because that's kind of a nice combination between the two, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's our jam, isn't
Yeah.
it? All right. So the residency model, listen, a lot of folks don't know about it, but residency models have been around nearly a century. And the reason why a lot of folks and a lot of educator preparation programs aren't using this sort of year long experience is because it takes a lot of folks to keep it going, right? And we also need a commitment of time. So when teacher education was first developed at the turn of the century, at the turn of the 20th century, we used what is called an industrialized model. And the goal was to push out and crank out as many teachers as quickly as possible. Well, maybe it worked back when we were an agrarian society, but nowadays we need to make sure that we have experts in the room. And the only way that we can fight against this high attrition rate is to make sure we give future teachers that year long experience. Let's not give them 70 days. Let's not ask them to sink or swim. Let's make sure we pair them with a master teacher in the district, that they are there in that classroom from day one, setting up the bulletin board, taking a look at the rosters, doing everything that they need to do from day one alongside a master teacher. Now, this master teacher, this is someone that is identified by someone in the district. They have had great evaluations every year, but more than that, they're committed to the babies and they're committed to families and the community. And so this master teacher is going to be that guide on the side every day. And that resident will not have to be, the teacher of record. They get to come in for an entire school year, getting full pay and learning from the master teacher. They're there every day from the first day of school to the last day of school, and they're getting a full teacher's salary.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, when they start on the first day, right, they're welcoming those kiddos. The kiddos see two teachers in the classroom, right? Talk to me about that co-teach setting and what does responsibility look like for a candidate that's going the residency route?
Yeah, as a mom, I would be excited to know that my child's classroom didn't have one adult that's looking out for my baby, but two adults in the classroom. They are the teaching partner, so to speak. While they do not have the responsibility, what we call being the teacher of record, they are getting that support, and they are gradually being onboarded to the experiences and responsibilities of being a teacher. So you can imagine, for example, if a resident is beginning in August and September, they're spending a lot of time helping with maybe some one-on-one support. They're observing their teacher that they've been assigned to. They may even have an opportunity to even go see some other master teachers, in the school or in the district. They're shadowing that teacher. They're having an opportunity to do some small group, maybe by November. By December, they're going to have an opportunity maybe to teach a class all on their own. But they are gradually being onboarded to this experience. And then by January, when they're halfway through the year, that's when they're slowly, given an opportunity with a really nice pacing schedule to have more opportunity to teach whole class lessons. And so by the time they finish, in May, they will have had all of the experiences of the teacher of record, and they will have done so in a supportive and cooperative environment. So they're going to be ready.
Yes. And
Mhm.
during this time in the residency experience, that can also be their clinical experience where they are getting observed. So they have somebody coming in as another touch point and another support system to be providing feedback to them as they're increasing that responsibility throughout the year.
That's really an important point to make, that they will have a university supervisor who, as you say, is providing that additional touch point, giving them feedback. But one of the great things about our program, the term program, is that we also give them additional support. We make sure, for example, in their during that fall session, that we are there to provide additional professional development for them. We also are there to make sure that we are giving them feedback as well, because nothing is more important to a beginning teacher than to have feedback from a lot of different spaces and places. So that's one of the additional benefits of being a part of the term program.
Another benefit, maybe I can add here too, is that certification exams can be difficult, and it may just mean that you need more time. It's you're making progress, you're understanding the content, but you're just not quite there to take a test
Yes.
yet. So with the residency model, with the term residency model, in that fall semester, because you don't have as much responsibility, if you still need more time with your
Hmm.
certification exam, the design is that you're able to prepare for those exams. So
Hmm.
is there anything that you want to add about that time?
No, I think that, like we said earlier, Cassidy, that the certification exam, which is a requirement by all teachers in this around the nation and in the state of Texas, it can be a little daunting.
Mhm.
So for many of our brothers and sisters out there, that extra time is
Mhm.
super, super important. So I do want to add that one of the great things that we do with our program, not only are you getting the additional time, you're getting a teacher's pay as well, but we're providing services to support you along the way for the certification exam. So at every point of the process, we're there to hold the hand of prospective candidates in the term program.
Yes, and ideally the certification exam maybe would be passed before
Right.
the clinical experience so that you don't have to worry about that during your residency year, which would be great.
Hmm.
But everybody is different, and when you're ready to take that, is it's such a personal journey that you have to go on whenever you're getting your
Hmm.
certification. But having that support around you and having support from, if you are in the university program, having support from faculty and staff there, having support from the term program, and really key is our support from our district partners. One other aspect that we haven't talked about yet are our instructional coaches that also go in to provide some support, which is nice because if you're preparing for one of those observations, having your instructional coach come in and just give you some feedback and practicing before that observation. Also, if you just need a change of pace and somebody else to come in and support you, that person is there for you too. And we've had some wonderful district partners that have really gone far and beyond what we ever could have imagined to support our residents and be prepared to hire them.
We can't say enough about our district
Mm-mm.
partners, because when we have endeavored to do this important work, it is really about working alongside
Mhm.
and not get ahead of our district partners. This is a good place to sort of give a definition of a residency.
Mhm.
It is a district driven educator preparation program. So not only do we want our district partners to be included, they are
They
integral
have
to
to
the
be.
process. Absolutely,
Yeah.
they have to be a part
Mhm.
of this process. So we're very fortunate in that way. And I think about the way that I was trained, and I have a little bit of understanding about the way that you were trained as a future teacher. I think that anybody going into a residency, boy, are they lucky ducks,
Mhm.
because they get that time
Yeah.
to hone one's expertise. And a lot of folks just don't have that opportunity.
One other great thing is our district partners are committing 4 years to, at minimum, 4 years to our candidates. They have the residency experience, and then they're offering them a job for 3 years after, at a minimum.
At a minimum,
So,
yes.
and hopefully these candidates that are working in our programs, they want to retire in these districts,
Mhm.
and that's what we hope for. But I think it's just speaks to how great and amazing our district partners are that they're just they're not only willing to host these residents for a year, but they're committing to cultivating these residents and hiring them on for 3 years after. Is there anything else that you would like to add about residencies or just getting certified the alternative way?
No, I did want to say that it's a big commitment being a part of a residency model. But we believe it is a commitment that is worthwhile in so many different ways. It takes a special kind of individual to commit to this whole idea of being an educator. And so if you're going to commit to a career of paying it forward to the young ones, to the next generation, there need to be processes in place to help you become the best professional possible. Our traditional ways of preparing teachers, they're pretty good, but they don't work for everyone. We believe the residency model, that year-long model, having an expert at your side, is the best way to be a teacher for the 21st century.
You were saying that it doesn't work for everybody,
That's true.
right?
That's
We
true.
have to think outside the box and support those that have just come to education a little bit later in
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
or even if they are fresh out of college, they didn't enter into an education program at the start, but now they want to be a
Now they're
teacher.
ready.
They've found their way to education, and so knowing that there's not a one size fits all way to getting certified, but we can have best practices through these types of experiences, through a residency experience that can help support these candidates to become certified. So, if somebody is interested in entering into education, maybe they're contemplating a change of career, but they aren't quite sure if they want to get certified yet, what would be some recommendations for them as they start to explore avenues to certification?
If this is something that one is thinking about, I would do two things. I would first sort of think about it long and hard. But while you're doing that thinking, reach out to some educators in a district that you might be interested in. I would encourage folks to reach out to maybe some of our district partners, and just talk to some educators and talk about the district and learn about it and think about whether or not that this is a career path that one wants to do. You don't go into teaching half-heartedly. And so I am always welcoming folks into the profession, but I'm also counseling people away. It is a major, major commitment. So after you've done that long thinking and you've had some discussion, the next thing is to contact us. And we're here to help answer all of your questions. Why don't you tell them how they can contact you, Cassidy?
Yes, you can get in contact with us by emailing us at term@tamu.edu. That's TERM at TAMU.edu. And we'd be happy to set up a meeting with you one on one. We usually have informational sessions going, so you can join one of those, learn about the residency model. I'd also encourage folks to reach out to our district partners, as you mentioned, but maybe start by becoming a substitute or working as a paraprofessional. Get in a classroom setting. And then also, once you are hired by a district, you start getting all of their communications. And our district partners are really trying to do some innovative thinking and navigate the teacher pathways for their employees. And so they have their own informational sessions, they have different communications and resources available to you. So once you start to get connected with the district, they usually have some pathways, one being the residency program with term, but also some other pathways that may be more suitable for you as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Listen, this is a good time to really bring home our motto at term: with short-term clinical experience, long-term teacher impact. Become a teacher today. It is the best thing that one could do for yourself and for the next generation.